Hey guys, so today's video is going to be me finally talking to you guys about my breastfeeding journey. This might be a little bit of a longer video, but I'm going to try to keep it kind of condensed because there's a lot that has happened. I want to do this video because I feel like there is almost like breastfeeding is like a little taboo. There's a lot of negativity I feel around it. I feel like moms put each other down when it comes to breastfeeding because there's different opinions, and men can be disgusting and just really degrading about it and nasty. I don't know. It's just it's a touchy subject. But I am trying to talk about it because I don't think it should be a touchy subject. I feel like, honestly, like it's something that needs to be talked about as women and as mothers. We need to share our stories and our experiences to help the next person out, and also be able to ask questions and like kind of figure things out together, because it is hard. It is a really hard thing to do. Breastfeeding is exhausting. It takes all your time, all your energy. It's a lot. It's so rewarding and so amazing, but it is really tough. And I just honestly feel like as moms, we should just help each other out and not be so negative towards each other if someone chooses differently than what you choose. So I'm going to get into this story from the beginning. We're just going to start at the hospital, and like I said, I'm going to keep everything pretty condensed, but try to pack as much information in here about my journey as I can to kind of help you guys understand. So she is 3 months now. This is Mia. If you do not know, she is 3 months now. So I have been on this journey for 3 months now. I always knew I wanted to breastfeed. My mom, my sisters, everyone did it, and they did it successfully. They all exclusively breastfed, and they all did it for like 2 years plus for each of my nieces and nephews. So that's what I knew, and that's what I wanted to do. So going into the hospital, after she was born, I did talk to a lactation consultant. They have lactation consultants that come around into your room and kind of talk to you and help you out. So the lactation consultant did help me with the football hold. When they're newborns and they're little babies, that is the best hold to have them in. And she was really, really little, so it worked at the time. But my only downside and problem with that, I guess, is that I wish she would have taught me how to do the other holds, because she didn't. And I, like, come a couple weeks later, it was just not very comfortable anymore, and it's not easy to do when you're like out in public, or you know what I mean, like if you have to do it somewhere besides like the comfort of your home. So yeah, but anyways, so she did teach me the football holds. I felt okay after actually I talked to her after the initial lactation consultant came in and talked to me that first time. I felt very confident and good, and that I had a really good nursing session and that everything was going great. From that day on in the hospital, I was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 days. I felt like it was going okay. I didn't feel great about it. I didn't want to breastfeed in front of other people because I was ashamed, because I knew I wasn't doing it 100% correctly, but I was trying and I refused to give up. I was also pumping though. During this whole time, I pumped a lot. So if people were going to come into the room, I pumped beforehand, because I was ashamed to nurse in front of anyone because I didn't feel like I was doing it correctly. And that's where I kind of feel like also I messed up. I feel like I should have reached out to the lactation consultants more when they came back, because I should have asked more questions, but I was super ashamed. So the last night at the hospital is the night that I kind of had a breakdown and ended up giving her formula. Now, if you guys want to, you can go watch my labor and delivery story. I will leave it in the description box. But if you guys watch that video, or you know me personally, you know my time at the hospital was very unexpected, dramatic, almost a little traumatizing, and it was just very hard and emotional, and it lasted way longer than I thought it was going to. I was in the hospital for almost 6 days. It was just really tough. So that last night that we were there, she was crying and screaming, and I couldn't get her to calm down. I was doing skin to skin, and we were rocking her. I was standing up, walking back and forth. Matt was holding her, doing the same thing. It was just a really rough night, and she didn't go to sleep until like 6:30 in the morning. But at I think around 5, I was trying to feed her, and she just kept on latching and screaming, like bloody murder screaming. And I figured, like, I just felt that she was starving and that she wasn't getting what she needed because she wasn't latching correctly, or something was just wrong. So I remember specifically like screaming at Matt, and at this point I was sobbing, and I said, just go to the nurse's station and get me formula, like now, like go now. I was flipping out. I was honestly panicking because I didn't know, I just, her screaming like that was terrible for me. It was horrible, and I felt like I couldn't give her what she needed. So he got me formula, and I remember like putting it into her mouth and giving it to her for the first time made me literally bawl, especially when she started chugging it. I told him, I'm like, look at her, she's starving, and like I'm starving her, and it was just the worst feeling in the world, and I wasn't doing it on purpose. I just, clearly something was wrong, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I was too ashamed to ask for help because I was just ashamed and emotional. And anyways, that was my fault and one of my biggest regrets and mistakes. So I went home and I continued to try to nurse her. I did what I could. If I felt like she was hungry, I gave her formula, and that was that. I did at the very beginning, for the first couple of weeks, exclusively just breastfeed her. I tried, at least. Like I said, if I needed to give her formula, I would, but it was more like that happened every couple of days. And come, I think about week 2, I started to be in so much pain while she was nursing. After she was nursing, before she nursed, it didn't matter. I was in so much pain. While she was nursing, though, was so horrible that I couldn't do it. And I remember one night specifically at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I was feeding her and I'd get Matt up and I was just bawling. And I was like, this hurts so bad. Get me a bottle. I cannot nurse her right now. Like, I can't do it because I'm hurting so much. And I felt horrible about myself because once again, I felt like I was giving in and I was failing her as a mother because I couldn't give her what she needed, and I was giving up because I was in pain and I needed to get over it and all of this. But when I tell you I was in pain and I literally could not like handle the pain anymore, I'm serious. It was so painful. So I ended up giving her a bottle, and that lasted for about 3 weeks where I was just in pain. It wasn't every nursing session, but it was every couple of nursing sessions. I was just in so much pain I could not nurse, and I'd have to give her a bottle, or I'd be in the middle of a nursing session, have to stop and give her a bottle because of I started to get like, it started to get really painful. I was ashamed to nurse in front of people. I was ashamed to talk to anybody about it. I was embarrassed. The whole thing was just really awful, and I spent a lot of my days crying because I just felt like a horrible mother, and that I was failing her and failing myself and failing Matt because he wanted me to breastfeed, and he was so supportive and so like, you have to do what you have to do. She needs to eat, and you know, she's getting what she needs. It's all right. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. But it was so hard for me, especially because I had my mind so set on exclusively breastfeeding. So at 5 weeks, I finally called a lactation consultant and I made an appointment. That first appointment, I don't know what happened, because if I'm being totally honest, she was very helpful, but she didn't really help me with my latch or anything. But from that appointment on, I have had no pain. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a mental thing or what, but I have had no pain. But I saw her a couple of times and we were trying to figure out what was going on, because I didn't feel confident enough still, and I was still having to supplement, and we were trying to figure out like how we could stop me from supplementing. So one appointment she did tell me to stop supplementing because it had been going pretty well. She told me, she said, stop supplementing. I don't think you need to anymore. She's gaining weight really well. Just stop supplementing, come back in 2 days and let's see what happens. Well, I did just that, and she nursed the entire time that I wasn't supplementing. That whole 2 days, all she did was nurse. Literally would sit there for 6 hours just in a straight nursing session. So I was figuring she wasn't getting enough, or I didn't have enough supply because of that. Mind you, also, I was pumping 5 times a day because that's what my lactation consultant told me to do. She was telling me to pump after every single time so that I could build my supply up. Because at this point, I felt like that was the biggest problem, is that my supply was not enough. That's why I was obviously supplementing. So at this point, it went from me supplementing because I was in pain to me now supplementing because I felt like I didn't have enough milk supply for her. So I did pump like 5 times a day to make sure, to try to get my supply up. So after those 2 days of me only breastfeeding, I went back and she did lose weight. So my lactation consultant was like, okay, wow, that's like really weird. So let's try to figure out what's going on. So she had mentioned Mia possibly having a little bit of a tongue tie a couple weeks earlier, like I think actually on her first appointment, but we hadn't done anything because she thought that it wasn't that, like that wasn't having an effect, like that she was going to be able to work through it. Well, that wasn't the case. So she did schedule me an ENT appointment, and I went to the ENT. And just to clarify, if you don't know what tongue tie is, it's basically where like the piece under your tongue that connects your tongue to like the bottom of your mouth is like really like short and is really tight and it doesn't allow you to extend and use your tongue properly. So when you go to an ENT appointment, how they correct that is they do clip it to let the tongue extend and do what it's supposed to do when they're nursing. That was one of the hardest appointments I've ever had to go through. I did end up choosing to go through with it because I wanted to nurse so bad, and I felt so guilty because I didn't know if I was making the right decision, if I was doing it for selfish reasons because I wanted to breastfeed so bad. They say the pain isn't really all that bad. They say it's like the equivalent to you like biting your tongue, and it only lasts for a few seconds, but it still broke my heart, and I cried during that appointment like the whole time. And I was not in the room when they did it. It took literally 30 seconds. I met the doctor, I walked out. The lactation consultant that I had been working with that day at the ENT office was in there with her holding her, and I was in the next room and I could hear her crying. I called Matt, bawling my eyes out, saying I don't know if I made the right decision. I can hear her crying. It was really tough. But as a mom and in that moment, I felt like it was the right decision for us. So I did go through with it. She came back. She was okay. If you know anything about that as well, you do have to massage under their tongue and like do like some little exercises with them 6 times a day for 2 weeks after the initial appointment, so that it doesn't like kind of like go back to the way that it was. Lactation consultant at the ENT doctor was saying that what's happening when they have tongue tie is their tongue is kind of like going like this. It's kind of just like up and down, nothing's really happening. And their tongue is really a huge part of how they latch correctly. So what it's supposed to do is like cup like this and pull, cup and pull to like express the milk out. And it wasn't doing anything. When you have tongue tie, it can't latch correctly and like cup where it's supposed to and pull like it's supposed to in order to express the milk the way it's supposed to and have an efficient nursing session. So that is why tongue tie is an issue, and why with breastfeeding it can be an issue. Sometimes babies can figure it out, but sometimes it doesn't, and they have a really hard time. So I do believe that the tongue tie caused latch problems, and that's why I was hurting. I think the fact that I stopped I did supplement mixed with the fact that she had tongue tie and she wasn't efficiently nursing was part of why I lost some of my milk supply, which I still strongly believe that I did. And we did do the tongue tie, and I was hoping that after that I was gonna just exclusively breastfeed, and once again that's not really the case. After the ENT appointment, I did go back to my lactation consultant at our pediatrician, and she thought that it was going pretty well, and it was, but I think at this point I had been to the lactation consultant 8 times, and mentally I was at a different point than where I was at the very beginning when I first went in there. So I was still having to supplement, and still to this day I still supplement when I need to. She usually needs to supplement during the day, but like her late night feedings and early morning feedings, she doesn't usually need to supplement. If I'm gonna be totally honest, I am still like a little disappointed, and I still would love for her to just somehow exclusively breastfeed. But I don't know if that will ever be the case. And I do think that the ENT appointment helped. I think that clipping it did help. I do feel like she gets better nursing sessions, but I think that because my milk supply dropped so much beforehand, it's just, for me, it's been really hard to get my supply back up. I had to stop pumping 5 times a day because all I was doing was feeding her and pumping, feeding her and pumping. I would nurse her, then give her a bottle, take like 30 minutes to an hour to put her down, then I would pump, then I'd have to get up, wash bottles, and then by that time she'd be awake again. I have to feed her again, and I'd go through the process, and I literally was doing this all day and I got nothing done. So I had to stop pumping as much as I was because it was literally taking over my life, and mentally I wasn't okay. Like it wasn't working for me. So I do think that is why I still haven't been able to get my supply up to what she needs. I have taken supplements because it got to that point. I was having the Boon Booms cookies. I think that's what they're called. So you can get them at Target. I was having those, which are lactation cookies, and then I was also taking the More Milk Plus supplement you can buy at Target. And those are not cheap. It's like $25 for a bottle, and I was buying them every 2 weeks or so. So here we are, 3 months later. I went to 8 lactation consultant appointments, 2 ENT appointments. She had tongue tie. We got it clipped. I decided to stop seeing the lactation consultant because I mentally I feel better about the fact that I have to supplement. Is it what I prefer? No. But is my baby happy and healthy? Yes. And that's all that matters. She doesn't go hungry. She is fed well. She's where she needs to be weight-wise. So it is what it is. Like I said, I still would love to, at this point, try to still get to that point of exclusively breastfeeding her, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. So I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know, I feel like as this video has gone on, like my demeanor has kind of gone down because breastfeeding is really hard, and I still feel like I'm not totally where I want to be at. I feel better about it. Like I don't feel as horrible about myself as I did beforehand, but I'm still not necessarily where I would love to be. So here we are 3 months later, and I'm like still on this journey trying to figure it out. So I guess with that being said, I just want moms to know, if you're a mom now, if you're a mom to be, or whatever the case may be, if you've had struggles with your breastfeeding journey, or whatever you choose to do, if you're struggling, or if it worked great for you, or whatever, it's okay no matter what you choose to do. It's hard, and as moms, it can be really difficult, and it can make you feel horrible or whatever if you don't get it right. But that's just the way that it goes. And at the end of the day, as long as your baby is happy and healthy and gaining weight and thriving, then it really doesn't matter which way you end up going. Right now, I am doing both. I'm breastfeeding and I'm supplementing. So it's not a total flop. I haven't totally given up. 3 months later, I haven't just been like, well, forget it. I'm just not going to breastfeed at all. It's been too tough. I'm just going to give her a bottle because it's easier. It has been so hard, but I haven't given up. And yes, like I said, I am still supplementing, but I do breastfeed her every single time she needs to eat. I always put her on both sides before I give her a bottle. And if she needs a bottle, I give it to her. So yeah, that's kind of how my breastfeeding journey has gone. It has been really emotional and hard and rocky. But I just want to kind of reassure moms out there that it's okay. I've been through it. It's been really hard. I spent a lot of days crying, a lot of nights crying, but I made it through. And like I said, I think at the end of the day, the reason that I am at peace with what's kind of the path that we're on right now is I know she's happy and I know she's healthy and I know she's getting what she needs, and that's all that matters. And if I can't fully give that to her, it's fine. It's okay, and it's not the end of the world. It will be all right. But with that being said, I would love to know your tips and tricks for getting your milk supply up, and just any tips for breastfeeding down below. And I know a lot of people are gonna come back with pump, but like I want details. Like if you're gonna tell me, please give me details. When did you pump? Because my lactation consultant says to pump like exactly like right after you feed her, as soon as you can, right after you like breastfeed her, get a pump on and pump both sides out to express all the rest of that milk out, because draining all that milk out is what boosts your supply up. But then I've also read people saying that the more you pump will boost your supply up. So I've also heard where people wait like an hour after they nurse and then they pump. So kind of let me know what you guys do, what works for you. If you guys have had this problem, what you did to boost your supply up. Because I am curious, because if I could get to that point where I could do it, I would love to. I just don't, I don't know. I have to mentally prepare myself to like dedicate my life to pumping all day long. So if that is how you do it and someone can give me specifics on exactly when to breastfeed, how long to wait after they nurse and all that, between like pumping and stuff, please let me know. I would love to try and then give you guys like an update. But yeah, that was kind of my breastfeeding journey. It's been really rough and emotional, but it's been really good. And like I said, at the end of the day, she's happy and she's healthy, and she does nurse. It's not like she just doesn't nurse at all, you know. She does nurse. She doesn't just fully go to the bottle. I do still breastfeed her. It's just not exclusively. I give her supplements when I need to. And that's kind of what it is. It is what it is, I guess. So anyways, I hope you guys found this video informative or helpful in some way. And any moms to be, I hope you aren't discouraged to breastfeed because you're scared or you're worried it won't work out or whatever. It is hard. It is a lot of work. And trust me, when you're up in the middle of the night, like 3 to 4 times a night, trying to feed them, and you are crying because it hurts or whatever, just don't give up. If you have to supplement. At the next session, try again. If that's what you want to do, try. And if you don't want to breastfeed anymore, if it's too much, don't breastfeed. It's fine. But whatever you choose to do, just believe in your decisions and don't make other people make you feel bad for them for like whatever you choose to do. It is hard and it's exhausting and it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope that this was helpful and informative to you guys. And I think that is the cue for me to like stop doing this video. So if you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments down below, and any tips too, please give them to me to boost your supply. I would really appreciate them. just anything to do with breastfeeding, let me know down below. I want to start like conversations so that people don't feel so ashamed like I did, because that was a horrible place to be, and I felt so alone, and I just want other people to know you're not alone. Message me on Instagram if you have problems or if you need help. Just, there's so many people to talk to, and you should never feel ashamed or embarrassed or alone, because so many people go through this. So yeah, I am going to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and your bell notifications on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.